All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
Hello to everybody who has to face the stark reality that, yes, indeed, you are old as hell. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. Before we even get started today, we're having an online event this week. It actually starts today. It relates to one of the most beloved callers in the history of the show, and I'm so excited to do it. We don't do stuff like this often enough, but I'm hoping that a whole bunch of people from the BA community will come be a part of this. July 25th, that's Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're having a live Q&A with Charity Woodrum, who a lot of you know as the caller, Whirlpool Galaxy. You see, she is in a film right now. She's the subject of a documentary called Space, Hope, and Charity. And you can right now, as a BA fan, go watch the film starting at 12 p.m. Eastern on July 23rd. That's the day this comes out. All the way through July 25th at 9 p.m. There's a link in our episode notes. You can also visit us on Instagram if you're having trouble finding it in those notes. It's pay what you want. The suggested pay to watch the film is $10, but if you're really hard up for cash, you can just go watch it or toss in a couple bucks. And once you watch the film, you can watch that anytime on July 23rd, starting at noon Eastern, all the way up until 9 p.m. on July 25th. And if you watch it, we're having a Q&A, not just with Charity, but with her mentor, Dr. Scott Fisher, who you'll come to know more about, as well as the director and producer of the documentary, Sandy Cummings. Again, the link is in our episode notes, also in our Instagram bio. You can go watch it starting at noon on the 23rd, which is the day this episode's dropping. And I'm really hoping that a lot of people from the BA community take this chance, support a film. Some of the money that you pay for the film goes right to charity, and not, this is a weird thing to say, not like a charity, like to Charity, the human being featured in the film. I know that's confusing, and also charities are worth supporting. But also this charity, the human being, is worth supporting. We're not making any money off of it. We're just so happy to be able to provide this opportunity to our fan base and our listener base, as well as to someone who's meant so much to the show. And I've watched the documentary myself. It's really beautiful. You're going to love it. You can go check it out. Link is in our episode notes and in our Instagram bio, and we'll see you on Thursday night.
Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. And if you're not somebody who enjoys the intros, I get it. Go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard for my tickets, beautifulanonymous.com for bonus content. Outside of that, you probably want to skip about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. It's relatively quick today compared to some others. Enjoy the call. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I just wanted to do a thing that I haven't been doing lately, but especially in our independent era, it helps a lot. If you subscribe instead of just searching out the podcast each week. I know sometimes people go, I don't want something downloading on my phone. I'll just check in on it. I do it too with some podcasts. Subscribing helps us so much. Hitting that subscribe or follow button. And hey, if you haven't left a rating or review for the show ever, it takes just a few minutes and it can really, really help with the momentum on any given episode. Thank you so much in advance. This is coming out on July 24th, 2024. I do want to let people know I'm coming to Pittsburgh on July 30th and Morgantown, West Virginia on July 31st. The Pittsburgh show is almost sold out. The Morgantown show, a lot of tickets left, and you can come stretch out and enjoy. Enjoy being able to physically stretch out in a largely empty space because I have not sold many tickets. You can also get tickets in Kansas City, Missouri, which all of a sudden those are moving really well. Thank you. St. Louis, Wisconsin. I still don't know how to pronounce that word. Chicago, Illinois, Ferndale, Michigan, Lakewood, Ohio, Somerville, Mass, Garwood, New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Hamden, Connecticut. Tickets for all of those at punchup.live/Chris Gethard. And remember, beautifulanonymous.com. You can get our bonus info. Every single week, we give you 5 extra questions with the caller. Those questions come from a list generated by listeners. It's always funny, interesting, different stabs in the dark that let us learn more about each individual caller. And then if you got the top tier, that $10 tier, you also get an individual, a number just for individuals at that tier. Once a month, we do a private taping just for people subscribed there. You also get a follow-up with a prior caller. And the most recent one we recorded, which I'm not even sure, at the point of this recording, I don't know exactly when we're releasing it. It's with our old friend from episode 69. Love is everywhere. My friend Heidi. And it's a beautiful call. It's a beautiful call. As is this week's call. This week's call, first of all, just in general, to let the cat out of the bag. Caller calls up and just goes, I'm 16. What do you want to know? I said, boom, there's our episode. There's our episode. I will say, the caller's perspective is that the average age of callers and the sense he gets of our fan base, and I'm quoting him here, old as hell. And I don't know if he's wrong, but I will say this, that I loved talking to him. I loved hearing his perspective. My approach was basically to use the first half of the episode to go, here's some things that are often said about young people right now. What's your view? True? Not true? A big deal? Not a big deal? And then to sort of say, what's the stuff that we're not thinking about? What's the stuff you're feeling and that you get the sense other people like you are feeling and that we don't know? And then I'll tell you what, too, in the bonus material for the subscribers, and if you want to subscribe. If you don't. I'm not all hung up on it. But I will tell you, we got into a lot more stuff about some really fascinating dynamics of his family, especially their immigration experience, his parents being adults who moved from Mexico, his brother being a kid who moved from Mexico, and then him being born in the States, and how specific that is, and how those relationships break down. We talked about that back there for a while, and it was really fascinating. It's worth checking out. The whole call is good. There's so many things that stand out to me. One that I want to underline in the intro is just, you tell me. I don't remember thinking so much about finances when I was 16 years old. Now, I also maybe had some advantage. But my family didn't have a ton of money until the very tail end of high school is when my dad made some money. I remember being a kid, and, I still do greatly feel that my roots are solid middle class to working class. Like, I still don't remember stressing as much about money as this kid seems to, and as much as he seems to say that his whole generation is. And I think it's kind of on all of us to go, what position are we putting kids in if they're thinking about that so hard? That's the one thing that jumps out to me the most, walking away from it, as a pretty remarkable difference between his experience and mine as a teenager. That being said, there's a lot of fascinating stuff. And on top of it, I think a lot of people are just going to listen to it and go, it's unbelievable. First of all, I would argue this caller does not sound, if I had to guess what a 16-year-old sounded like, I would not say this caller. But I would also say just laid back, thoughtful, down to chat. What a cool caller. Thank you so much for representing the new youth movement of Beautiful Anonymous. Means a lot. Enjoy the call.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Is this Chris?
Yeah, it's Chris.
Oh, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I'm in Arkansas.
Arkansas?
Yeah, I'm at the last day of a tour where I did Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas. And the problem is that
Oh,
even though I get hotel rooms and I should be able to sleep better with no one bothering me, when I'm not with my family, I just can't sleep right. I wake up, I worry about them, I can never sleep right. So I sound like trash, but happy to talk to you today. How are you?
right now I'm really tired too. I can't lie. I haven't slept for a while, but I'm happy to be on the phone with you. That's all I know. I'm worked up now. I have this adrenaline running through me because I'm scared.
Well, there's no need to be scared. And I also have to say, you sound remarkably chill for someone who's got adrenaline coursing through their veins.
Yeah, I'm trying. You know, I listen to a lot of these calls, and the people usually sound really calm and nonchalant about everything, and I'm trying to keep that posture up.
You're crushing it. You're absolutely crushing it. I promise you that.
Did um did they tell you what I told Andrea?
No. I'm walking blind to these things.
Oh, I told her that I'm 16 years old, and
Whoa.
I thought if you had any questions for somebody who's 16, then you can shoot them at me.
I have so many. I mean, I think this means you are tied for youngest caller in the history of the show. I know we've had at least one other high school student, but I forget. So, what did you just finish up? What, your sophomore year, your junior year?
Yeah, I just finished up my junior year. I'm in summer right now.
Okay, questions for a 16-year-old. I love this. Let's start with a broad one. Do you like being 16?
Ooh, I think yeah. Right now, I know I have a lot of freedom that I probably won't have later in the future, but also like a lot of I still have my parents and all. They're like watching my back, and obviously I get that. But right now, I don't really have anything to worry about right now. So yeah, I like being 16. It's fun. I'm about to turn 17 though, so I got to see how that is.
And do you have a driver's license already?
No, I actually don't. I get my driver's license in this month in a couple of days, just to not be too specific.
That's sick. Are you so psyched?
Well, yeah, but driving's kind of scary. I can't like I'm still getting used to it even after having my permit for about a year now.
But the freedom, you have you have a newfound freedom at your fingertips now. That's got to be exciting, right?
It is, yeah. And now my parents got me a car recently because I've been working with them. So I have that to look forward to and driving that around. And I really want to, I don't know, use it to the fullest, I guess.
And are you entering your senior year of high school next fall? Because we're recording this over the summer.
Yeah, I am.
And then is the plan to go to college after that?
Uh, okay, so for my senior year, uh, how do I don't want to give too much information away. For for my senior year, there's this college by my area that has a dual enrollment program that we can do. And I applied for that dual enrollment program and got in. And basically, you you basically get a free year of college in the dual enrollment program for like your senior year. So for my senior year, I actually won't be in my high school like at all, and I'll just be like at the college or university that offers a dual enrollment program. So it'll be basically like being a freshman in college, but I'm still enrolled into high school.
How hard do you have to think as a 16-year-old now? And are they having the conversation with you all about how to not let college cripple you financially? Is that a thing that they're starting? Like, does a guidance counselor in 2024 look at you and go, here's how you can do college and get a year of credits without having to pay fully for it, and that's going to save you on your student debt? Is this a thing we talk about or no?
I'm sure for a bunch of other students, but I don't. There's a lot of programs offered at my school and across my state to get a bunch of college credits, and you can get your associates early.
Yeah.
You can get your associates while still in high school, and there's a lot of programs offered to get some financial aid. Here in my state, we have a big scholarship that gives you a full ride to college, and it doesn't have like crazy qualifications. Like a bunch of people do programs to qualify for that scholarship and get their credits early. So they talk about it, but yeah, they definitely help you a lot here where I'm from, without giving too much info.
Love that. Now, I have so many questions for you. I'm just going to start throwing questions at you. And when it gets to be too annoying, just let me know. So I'm 44. How old are your parents?
My mom is, her birthday's in a couple of days. Wait. She's 46, yeah.
So I'm your mom's age. I am effectively your mom's age.
Yeah, or under, yeah.
I could be your father.
That's it's really weird to think about.
Now let's see. I want to know, I'm sitting here right now thinking about, it's bringing back memories of when I was 16. Do you have a sense of what are the things about being 16 right now that your parents are like, yeah, that was what it was like when I was 16? What are the things that your parents are like, damn, this is way different?
Oh, they always talk to me about having way different technology and how. So my parents are from Mexico, and it was, even now it's a lot different over there than how it is here. And they grew up on kind of like farmland, taking care of animals, taking care of crops and stuff. And so it was their childhood was way different than what mine was growing up here in the United States. So they definitely didn't have that same luxury. But for the similarities, probably at 16, probably the same. They told me stories about, acting the same, kind of sort of rebellious. It's not really. They'll tell me oh, when you're older, you'll understand why I told you this.
Yeah. Devices is the big one, right? You got a phone. What do you have?
Yeah.
You got Apple Watch, laptop, iPad. These are all things that affect your social life and your academic life, and they literally didn't exist for me, let alone your parents who grew up in a totally different lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a lot of people right now saying that over-reliance on devices is messing up kids your age in an emotional sense, in a development sense, in an ability to connect with each other sense? Is that something you feel is real, or do you hear that and roll your eyes at it as a young person?
I do kind of roll my eyes because I don't know. Now I hear where I'm from, at least, a lot of people are connected. There's still a lot of cliques, a lot of social groups, all these different friend groups that get together, and I think social media just makes it way easier to, meet these people. I've met a bunch of people on Instagram, as weird as it sounds. I've met a bunch of people on Instagram and talked to them in real life, got to know them better and hung out with them outside of the internet. And I think it's a great place to connect. But I can still see it can still set a lot of weird, unrealistic standards that a lot of people like, feel insecure about, and just they can't reach, so they feel outcasted because they can't reach those standards.
Right. I would have to imagine hearing you say like, oh, you can get connected with people. I love that. Like, I sit here and think about how when I was 16, I was into comic books and wrestling and Star Wars, and those things were not popular at all. Those things meant that I was a loser. And knowing like, oh, if I could go find the other people who like that stuff from surrounding towns, and they're a short drive away, and they might become, maybe the 2 or 3 of us that are into that stuff can find the 2 or 3 kids from the neighboring area, connect over it, or not the neighboring area, connect over it. I can see that. Seeing things though, like, oh, I could see it leading to people going, why don't I look like that? And it leading to eating disorders. I could see it, people fall, one of the things that scares me the most, especially for young men, is there's corners of the internet where it's people going like, and it's a few years old as far as a trend, but like the whole red pill, like, here's how you go and pick up chicks, bro. And then it becomes like a real toxic masculinity thing. And young, I feel like there's a track where teenage boys could fall into stuff like that. Also bullying. That's the other thing that's so scary is you do read, I was just reading this really fascinating article about these guys out in Arizona, some gang, what were they called? The Goons. I forget what town they're from. Glendale Goons. But it was like these high school bullies that kept trying to one up each other. And it was all through, like, everything got out of control because of how quickly everything could just spread. Like, if you get bullied, everybody knows within 15 minutes. The Gilbert Goons, Gilbert, Arizona. Really insane thing if you want to go read about something shocking. But things like bullying, things like body image issues, things like weird manipulative adults having access to kids. Those are the things that we all worry about as older people, but you kind of roll your eyes at that.
No, I get it. Now that you bring it up, there's still, a bunch of problems that you brought up. First, so like those red pill, like weird guys that try to like, base their whole personality around being like super masculine and misogynistic. I've met a couple of them, and they're so just hard to talk to. Like, they always, I don't know, it's like all they talk about, and you can tell what type of content they watch. They like spew that content back out to you, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so hard to listen to. And the bullying and the leaks and all that stuff, there's been times at my school especially where like people get leaked to doing obviously weird things, but I don't think they should get like exposed to that stuff. Like, that stuff should be kept private, like, like handled by adults and the law. At least they get exposed on these apps, and people just like post them and comment on it and laugh at them. And it's really, like, I imagine myself getting on that page, and that's like super scary. It's like terrifying.
Yeah. We had to deal with, when I grew up, we had to deal with bullying that I think was like more accepted as part of the culture of like, sometimes you're just going to get hit in that face and fight back. And it was more an accepted, like, bullying's out there and there weren't any standards by which to deal with it. But what we didn't have to deal with was like that. Like, oh, I sent a picture of myself in my underwear to the person I was dating, and now we broke up, but they sent it to their friends. And within 20 minutes, I'm realizing that every single person in this school has now seen a picture of me in my underwear or less. Like, that's a thing that I can't imagine, the stress and the terror that someone must feel if something like that happens to them. Like, the hours that's unfolding must be some of the most demoralizing, lonely, like, sirens going off, someone help this kid through this stuff that just prior generations didn't have.
No, it's terrifying. I mean, there's whole pages dedicated to it. And then I think the worst part is that like nobody really like sticks up for them either. They just kind of like point and laugh when they get posted.
Ooh, I hate
And
that.
if you do like stick up for them, you're either gonna get drowned out or like, you know, like be called all these different things, or sticking up for them for saying like, hey, maybe we shouldn't post this girl's nudes on the Instagram page.
Ooh, I hate that. I hate that. Other things I need to ask a 16-year-old about. What was it like losing those 2 years to COVID? Did it screw everybody's heads up, or are you guys going to be okay?
Oh my god, I barely even remember COVID. Like I blocked it out, to be honest. It was during it started, I specifically remember it started, we had a 2-week break for winter break, but then it got extended because of COVID, and then we just didn't come back until 8th grade. And basically 8th grade was mixed. We had kids on Zoom, kids at home, and then kids at school who were like strictly wearing the mask. And 9th grade, everybody was fully into school again, and we had the mask again. But as far as like quarantine and like how it affected school and my social life, I think I went through a lot of change through that time. I remember that much. Like I was such a weird, dense person before then, and I know that's not saying much since I was like what, like 12 or 11 then. But I went through a lot of change in between quarantine. Maybe it was because I was online a lot. Like I learned a bunch of stuff online, how to like not be such a weirdo and like act normally. But when we got back to school, it's like I couldn't really socialize that well. Like it felt like off, you know?
Yeah, I mean, on one level, if someone told me, hey, you could have just skipped 8th grade, I would go sign me up for that, because that was the worst stretch of my life, 7th and 8th grade, and then transitioning into high school. But I can't imagine just being plopped back into high school after 2 years, and those 2 years in particular, where like, because that's wild, right? Like, that means you probably don't see a lot of people that you've seen for a long time. And then you come back and some of them are like a foot taller because they've started going through puberty on the early side. Some of them are like super late bloomers. There's probably like dudes you knew that they were little kids, and now you're back 2 years later and they have like borderline full mustaches. There's, girls who you knew them and you guys were like just kids that played together in elementary school, and now all of a sudden they're like taller and their bodies have changed. That it must have been like going through like a time warp in a way. Like I can't imagine the shell shock.
It was totally different. And like how I talked about me being completely different during quarantine, everybody was, I mean, I don't know about older people, but since it was that was our time to like, kind of mold our personalities and try to like fit in. I guess middle school is all about fitting in, like high school too. But since we didn't have that, we were just online and we took in what we saw and just kind of molded to that. So people changed a lot. Like it was wild to see how much these people changed, like their looks, their aesthetics, how they acted, what they believed. I think it radicalized a lot of people too. It was really weird to come back to that. Yeah.
When you say radicalized, in what sense? More extreme personalities, or people who started to like, since you weren't socializing and building identities, they built identities by going like, no, I'm now a part of a political movement or a social movement. Like, what do you mean by radicalized?
I do mean politically, at least. I mean, I remember obviously with the BLM movement and a bunch of other stuff going on during then. On TikTok specifically, there was a lot of like radicalizing content, like for either side too. For the left and the right, there's a lot of stuff about capitalism, like the system, wanting to take it down, and then on the right there was people like spreading like weird statistics and like all these conspiracy theories about like Black people and Jewish people, and I can see like how how a bunch of people went down either side, you know? And then there were some people that just like try to stay neutral.
And you're seeing this amongst other kids who are 11, 12, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah, and then, yeah, basically.
Wild. Now, you know, like doctors and sociologists, people are going to keep an eye on your exact age group, like your exact age group, people who were in middle school, transitioning into high school during the COVID years where everything got rearranged. You know that until, for decades, there's going to be people studying your exact age group. Are you aware of this? Just to see mentally what that did to society. And let's pause there. I tell you, that's already happening. I know from my work with Laughing Together, people are already doing so much work to study the COVID kids. And I think they might be known as that moving forward. Also, that would be a fantastic name for a punk band. There's got to be like 9 bands already called that. It's actually not a great name for a band right now. That's a great name for a punk band in like 15 years. Truly is. Anyway, I've totally destroyed the momentum. Let's listen to some ads. We'll be right back.
I love a great deal. I'm a smart person. I like a deal. When I see a deal, I'm happy to have a deal. But we all know a lot of deals, you got to click 19 things. You got to give them all your personal info. You got to jump through a million hoops. You got to crawl across broken glass just to get a few bucks in your pocket, right? I like deals better when they're easy. No hoops to jump through, no BS. So that's why when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I was in disbelief. I assumed it was more BS. Turns out, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process is the time you spend on hold, waiting to break up with your old provider. That's how easy Mint Mobile makes it. The only complaint you're going to have is that your old provider is making it too difficult on their end. Nothing about Mint Mobile. You want to get started? Go to mintmobile.com/beautiful. You'll see that plan right now. All 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. This is not a joke, okay? Mintmobile.com/beautiful. $15 a month for 3 months. Get it going. I mean, it's going to save you a ton of money right there. Think about how much you're paying for your wireless and how much simpler it could be. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/beautiful. That's mintmobile.com/beautiful. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/beautiful.
Hey, all you true crime fans, this is Mike Ferguson.
And this is Mike Morphin.
And we'd like to invite you to listen to our podcast, Criminology.
Launched in 2017, we've covered a variety of strange cases from murders to missing persons. Some of the cases are ones you may not have heard of.
Other cases we cover are some of the most historic in true crime. There are 200 episodes of Criminology available to binge on right now, and new episodes come out every Saturday night.
Subscribe to Criminology today, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Thanks to our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call. You know that until, for decades, there's going to be people studying your exact age group. Are you aware of this? Just to see mentally what that did to society.
Yeah, I talked about this before with my friends. I was thinking about how, it's so weird to think how older people lived a whole life before COVID, They had 20 to 30 years, 20, 30, 40 years of life before COVID. But for us, it was we lived for 10 years, and then we got hit with this during our developmental stage, and we just plopped back out during the time we were supposed to be new people. We were supposed to socialize. So it's really weird to think that people had people had already grown before COVID. It wasn't their whole life, basically. It was just like, another 2 years in their life.
It's really, that's really fascinating to hear.
I mean, obviously it affected everybody, and like, I'm sure it was rough for like you too, your age group too. But for us, it was just like, I don't know how to put it, but it was a larger gap of our life,
Yeah, and it's one of the first times that I've thought about it, but where I sit here, I go, I was 21 years old when 9/11 happened. And I remember feeling acutely like, oh man, like everything's now different and everything's now defined by that. And hearing how you just phrased that, I remember having that same feeling of like, oh, for my parents, this was when JFK got killed. That's how far back you have to go to find another thing that was this cultural touch point that everybody's brains wigged out because of that. And to hear like, oh, your generation now, people your age, COVID will be that's the universal touchstone of what everybody went through. And hearing you say that, of like, oh, right, you didn't get to live a whole life yet. And like my son was 1 when everything shut down. He's probably not going to remember it. Like he's probably going to have a little bit of memories of people in masks and that being weird. But you were of a specific age group that was like, no, you've got momentum and you've got a friend group and you've got stuff happening, and now shut it down for 2 years as a kid. And we're all just going to now see what happens moving forward. I haven't thought of it as analogous to some of those other big universal experiences, but it is. Also, speaking of universal experiences, so 1999, I'm 19 years old. You're not born yet, not by a long shot. Columbine happens. Everybody stops. People are standing in front of TVs. I'm in my freshman dorm, and everybody's gathering in the room that has the news playing on TV because a school shooting is so shocking. Now we are at an era where you grew up with school shooting drills the same way I grew up with fire drills.
Yeah.
Is that something that you go, this is warped, this is twisted? Or do you just go, another drill, in the same way that I would when we had a fire drill?
No, I mean, most of the time I'm just kind of like, I just kind of tune it out in the drills. But then other times I realize what we're really doing. Like, for my school, we have like full lockdowns. They turn off all the lights. They, blaring alarm on the screens and on the speakers. You have to test everything out. We have to hide in their tables. And sometimes I think like, oh my God, like, what would we do if somebody came in here? Like, actually, it's so creepy and eerie, and nobody really seems to care. They're all just kind of like out of it. And I get it because we've done it so many times. We've been doing this since like elementary school now, and it's really, I don't know, it's scary. We've had a bunch of bomb threats and school shooter threats at my school. At least a lot of people that like post on social media. That's another thing with social media. They'll post about wanting to shoot at the school, and a lot of the times parents just let their kids go either way because they know it happens so much that it's just like, well, what are you gonna do?
Ooh, that is a depressing reality to hear. Okay, other questions I have for a 16-year-old, and then I want to also make sure I put the ball in your court. But while I have here, another thing that I noticed, and my wife is she's the best. She's the best, and she's a forward-thinking person. We had our son at a town near us has like a very famous area called the Green, Morristown, New Jersey, the Morristown Green. And it's not really a park, but it's like a big center of town with a lot of grass. And there was this crew of skateboarder kids. And we had our son there a couple of years ago, and he was fascinated. And these skateboarders were probably the age you are now. They were all 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, if I had to guess. My wife looked over at them and she was like, you know what's really interesting? And I was like, what? And she goes, I defy you to tell me which of those kids are boys and which of those kids are girls. And I looked down the line and I knew exactly what she was talking about, because I was like, in some cases, yeah. Some cases it's obvious. But then there were also just a bunch of kids dressed in clothes where I was like, I honestly have no idea how these kids were born. I have actually no idea how these kids would identify themselves, because their style of dress is so intentionally ambiguous. And you have heard older people talk so much about gender, and the sense I got on that day, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, I almost started laughing, because I was like, man, all these old comedians that want to yell about non-binary and pronouns and trans people, all these politicians who want to make it their whole thing, I started almost giggling, because I looked at these kids at the Morristown Green in New Jersey and I was like, when we start talking about that stuff, these kids think we sound so fucking old and lame. Am I right or wrong about that?
Yeah, if you bring that up, we just roll your eyes at you, because it's really stupid. Like, no offense. I know you don't say it, but no offense to your age group. It is really stupid to care that much about how your kid is dressing, or how they cut their hair, how they act, I guess, you know? I mean, when it gets to like surgical stuff, like, you know, transition surgery, I get why they'd be concerned, but why do you care so much if your kid just like puts on baggy pants, or puts on, I don't know, a crop top, or paints their nails, or cuts their hair a certain way, you know? It's really annoying to hear all the time.
You guys don't give a shit about that. If you have a friend who grew up a boy who shows up with painted nails and dyed hair one day, you guys don't give a shit. If you guys have a friend who grew up a girl but all of a sudden comes in with a shaved head, you don't blink. Your age group does not blink. You don't care. Am I right?
Most of us does. I think the sad part is that, like, a lot, maybe like, I don't know, like 40% of our age group is still affected by like what old people say, you know. They'll see that and be like, oh, why are you dressing like that? You're supposed to dress like a boy. Stop doing that. Why are you so weird? And they'll see that and, like, you know, bully them, or, you know, outcast them, and it's really weird. But like, a majority of us just don't really care. Like, who cares how you dress or what you do with your life, you know? We're just worried about ourselves, really.
And when you say there are still, you know, hearing that there's a 60-40 split of like about 40% of the kids are probably still really wrapped up in what old people say, but about 60% in your estimation. And I know I'm asking you to speak for your entire age group, and I know that's not really how life works, but in your experience, about 60% of kids are like, stop, it's annoying. Just to be clear, when you say that 40% care about what old people say, what age would you start to say is old? And you can be honest.
like 30.
Cool,
yeah.
cool. That's cool. Cool. Yeah.
Were you expecting me to say like 50 or something?
No, I knew what you were probably going to say, and I had to just make sure, because I am the one asking the questions, and I want to make sure that you know that I'm totally understanding the perspective. But I was well aware that the age you said for what qualified as old is probably an age that would be a full generation younger than me. It's fine. I am old. It's fine. Let me ask you this.
Sorry.
I'm not sure, like, how many kids are in your high school, and how many kids would you say are out as far as being queer on some level?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know how many kids are in my high school, but I know there are a fair amount of queer people at my school. My school's like an art school, and my state is pretty split. It's pretty conservative and also more liberal, I guess. But elementary school, there's still a fair amount of queer people. I mean, not like very, very, very openly, but it's very accepted in our school, even with our principal and stuff. And we've had walkouts at our school for Pride. We walk out of the classrooms and kind of just celebrate Pride over there. We wave the flag and gather around, take pictures and all that. And we've had other events like that, so we're pretty open school for that kind of stuff,
How would you react if I told you that when I was in high school, there were about 400 kids in each class, probably between 1,500 and 2,000 kids in my high school at any given time. And to my knowledge, the entire 4 years I was there, not one kid was out.
Not a single kid? I don't know. Not a single one?
Now, I'm not saying there were no kids that were queer, but I'm saying to my knowledge, I don't remember any kids that were out. And there were no Pride events. That was not a thing. Does that sound like weird science fiction to you?
Bye.
Who
Sorry, my mom walked in.
That's okay. Your mom and I probably listened to the same bands growing up and have the same pop culture point of reference.
Maybe. She's very happy.
Your mom and I probably, yeah. Look at that. Like, I don't know. My kid is now getting into Pokemon a little bit. I don't know what that is.
Pokemon?
Yeah.
You don't know what Pokemon is?
I mean, I'm aware that Pikachu's the thing and Bulbasaur and that it's a card game and that the creatures, you can do things to make them turn into more powerful creatures, but that's it. Whereas you probably grew up, Pokemon was just like part of your life.
Not part of my life, but one of my friends was like really into it, and I know a lot of people were into it, and it's really cool. I can't even lie. It was really cool. I wish I got into it. But I thought Pokemon was like your generation.
No,
weird.
I was, for me, when I was a real little kid, it was G.I. Joe, Transformers, and then up through about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was big for kids in elementary school for me. And then Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was the thing where I was like, all right, I think I'm a little too old for kid shows. And that was like middle school where I kind of tapped out.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's the stuff you're thinking about at 16 that you don't hear? Like, we've covered, I think, a lot of the things that I'm really fascinated in, but that shows up in the news, young people and devices, young people and COVID's effect, young people and gender and social movements. Like, we've touched on a lot of things that I feel honor bound to ask you about. What's the stuff that you're like, here's the reality of being 16 and I don't hear anybody talking about this? What's the stuff that you're like, I am 16 right now. This isn't showing up on the news. Here's what it's really like.
Probably what the job market and what the economy is going to be like for us when we grow up. I get people are talking about it now, obviously, because it's affecting you guys now. But sometimes I think about like what I'm gonna do when I'm older and how I'm gonna afford. Because I see all these stories about how people are living paycheck to paycheck. I'm like, how am I gonna afford right now? I've taken classes for budgeting and stuff, but how am I? And if the economy gets any worse, how am I gonna afford a house in the future? How am I gonna rent and like fund my goals and my any debts I'll probably inevitably have,
I have to say, that's
also,
why I don't remember thinking about that when I was a kid. I remember feeling like, well, the whole thing they're telling me is I go to college and then I'll go be able to get a job. And you're like, no. What's going on? Let's talk cash. Young people are like, you're not leaving any of the money on the table for us.
Yeah, I think the worst part is like a lot of people are basing their decisions on how much money you're going to make in the future. And I think it was like that before too. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But now, especially, people are like, okay, you have to get into like a medical field, a STEM field, or I don't know, anything in high demand in the job market. But nobody's like, if you, I've told people that I've wanted to be a teacher, and every time I tell them, they're like, okay, but the kids are gonna treat you like shit. Oh, can I cuss on here? Sorry.
Yeah, say whatever you want, dude. You're 16 years old.
Sorry.
Curse your head off. It's anonymous. I won't tell your mom.
The kids are gonna treat you like trash. I mean, the pay is gonna be terrible. I mean, teachers aren't treated that well, and like, obviously, but we're gonna need more teachers in the world in the future. We're gonna need more artists. We're gonna need more musicians. We're gonna need more people on these other obscure kind of degrees and this like low supply work, you know? And a lot of people just want to be, obviously we need more doctors and more engineers and stuff. I think that's great, but I think we should also focus on things that don't make a lot of money and like, you know, give them a livable wage too.
Are you still thinking about being a teacher?
After what I said, no, not really. I kind of want to be. I'm stuck between a teacher and industrial engineer, and I know they're really like opposite sides of the spectrum. But I don't know. It's what's been on my mind lately a lot. What I want to do in the future, what I want to major in, you know.
That's wild to think about, that you wanted to do something a little, you know, community driven, something altruistic, and that your generation is not like, don't do it for any other reason except like, hey, you get treated like trash and you won't be able to afford to live. Like the jig is up. That's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, it's always the same thing. Like, oh, you majored in a hobby. What did you expect? Of course, you're not going to get a job. Of course, you're not going to find any work. And it's really, really depressing to hear that. You know, because I don't know. We need more artists in the world. We need more people doing creative things instead of just. I'm not saying obviously doctors and engineers are bad, but we need more of the other things too. You know.
Well, it's not if it's good or bad, it's if it's safe and smart as a life choice. And it sounds like your generation is starting to feel like when you hear that somebody's going to college and they're like, yeah, I'm going to major in acting. It sounds like people your age are just like, good fucking luck with that, man. I'm going to go major. I'm going to go major in English and then just figure it out afterwards. Like that sounds like you're saying that your generation is now kind of smart and wary enough to go, you're going to go get into debt with all those student loans for an English degree. Good luck. But I think you're right. That also means who will the future academics be? Who will the future artists be? What happens to people who aren't certain who they want to be long-term when they're 17, 18 years old, who just want to go get a liberal arts degree for life experience, but then they're saddled with debt? Like, what happens if college costs as much as it does and it only gets worse and worse? You have major areas of life that are very important where the muscles start to atrophy with an entire generation of people who aren't abandoning those things because they want to. They're abandoning those things because they're smart people and they're seeing the writing on the wall of what that life looks like. It's scary.
Yeah, and always, there's still people who are going to do those things regardless of what people say. Like, there's still going to be art majors, acting majors, all that stuff. My problem is like when we grow up, when we go about your age, how are we going to treat them? Like, are we going to finally give them a livable wage and like be able to integrate them into society without being, you know, weird about what their job is? And how they're contributing to the world or to the economy, I guess? Or are we just gonna like keep them out there, like not give them a livable wage and not treat them how they should be treated, like any other job?
It's depressing to hear someone 16 be able to figure that out. And then to know that right now we've got political candidates in their 70s and 80s who can't seem to figure that out. And you're 16 and you're telling me that your whole generation thinks about this and talks about this and worries about this.
I mean, we have to. We're getting to that age, really. We're getting to the age where we're going to be a part of the workforce. We're going to be up there voting, seeing what we like, what we don't like, what the past generations did wrong, I guess. And I feel like some people aren't going to change. They're going to, stick to their old ways, probably because of their upbringing or where they live and all that. But I feel like a majority of our generation is definitely more progressive, at least, So I have higher hopes for the future, at least of our generation. But I can't say that I'm 100% on it. It's scary to think about.
I gotta pause and say I find myself distressed at every generation of teenagers has had some level of hopelessness or cynicism, but this one feels very real. And it's so much about finances. What are we doing to these kids? Anyway, speaking of finances and capitalism, here are some ads. I have to tell you guys, I'm recording this from a hotel room in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm on a tour that's been bringing me all over some smaller cities. And I packed a bag, and I had limited room, but I knew I need one nice thing. What if there's a dinner? What if there's a situation where I got to look halfway decent? I have limited space in my bag. One thing that goes in there every time I travel is my gray sweater from Quince. This is by far the clothing item that I look best in and that I feel most confident in. And in general, I think that is true about Quince and the things they provide. And I'm so happy to tell you about them. Because they've got all sorts of great stuff. Right now, European linen shirts and shorts from $30, breathable tees and polos, hard shell luggage. There's a lot of stuff on there. And the best part, all of the items at Quince are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And I'm telling you, they look good. I will also tell you, this sweater I got, the fit is great. I'll also put this out here. I have spent more money on sweaters at some name brand places, and those sweaters get holes. Those sweaters have seams that come apart way quicker. My Quince one looks like I just got it yesterday, and I've worn it a ton. So I can also tell you, I've bought stuff from brands you've heard of for more money that have fallen apart way quicker, and it gets me retroactively furious that I wasn't saving that 50 to 80% less than similar brands that Quince offers you. And that's true and comes from my heart. Quince partners directly with top factories. They cut out the cost of the middleman. That's why those savings get passed on to you. And also those factories, Quince only works with safe, ethical, responsible manufacturers, people who really think about their manufacturing practices. They only use premium fabrics and finishes. It's really great. And I have to tell you, I was so happy with the experience, start to finish, of using Quince, of the actual product that arrived. And every time I put it on, I feel good. I feel like I have supported an ethical business, and I'm looking good in the process. Nothing wrong with any of that. The style's great. The price is great. Everything about it gets a thumbs up from your friend Chris. Pack your bags with high-quality essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful. You'll get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful. You'll get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/beautiful. Thanks again to all of our advertisers for allowing this show to exist. Now, let's go ahead and let's finish off the phone call.
I have higher hopes for the future, at least of our generation. But I can't say that I'm like, 100% on it. It's scary to think about.
What gives you joy as a 16-year-old right now? What pisses you off as a 16-year-old right now?
Joy, my friends going out, like forgetting about all the stuff we talked about as much as possible. I'm just trying to,
When you
just
go
trying to
out,
enjoy
what
my
type of
hobbies while I have them.
I want to know what the hobbies are. I want to know what going out entails. What are you doing these days? When kids start to get their licenses right now, where are you going? What are you doing? What are the hobbies? What are these things?
I mean, we have fun doing anything really. For me personally, I like staying home a lot, but I also like going out, and I know it's weird. But when I stay home, I just play video games, go on my phone, scroll through videos. I like to journal. When I go out with friends, we usually just go out to eat and watch a movie, go to the park, go to like a golf course or something, a mini golf course. But I know a lot of people like doing different things. I mean, their friend groups, like with social media, you can meet people that have the same hobbies as you and just kind of make friend groups off of that. So like I know a lot of people have friend groups for like skating, for painting, for acting. I mean, everybody's connected in that kind of way,
I love that. Some of that sounds not too far off from how my friends were when we were around your age. What's the stuff that's like on a day-to-day level? Not necessarily the state of the world stuff, but just day-to-day. What annoys you? What irritates you, bums you out? And maybe that's more stuff on like the big picture scale of like, yeah, here's what bums me out is that older generations aren't allowing us to live well with middle-class jobs. Like I like hearing that a 16-year-old is thinking about that. I want to know, even on a more granular level, joy is journaling, mini golf, going to the park. Kids are out there skating. What are the things that kids right now are like, God damn, this is annoying as hell?
Probably, I know a lot of kids my age have jobs, but I personally don't have a job, so I get annoyed a lot that I can't like really get the stuff that I want. I don't want to ask my mom for everything, but I'm usually stuck here in my house because I can't really afford to go out that much. So I'm stuck here with no money. I can't really fund the stuff I want. So that annoys me a lot because I run into a lot,
Have you thought about getting a
see
job?
stuff that I want. I can't really get it. Yeah, I have, but I don't have my license yet, so I wouldn't really have a good source of transportation over there. But once I get my license, you'll see me out there. You'll see me, I don't know, serving up sandwiches.
It's time to make some moves, get some cash in the pocket, start living your life your way.
Exactly.
Can I ask you a bit of an awkward question?
No? Yeah.
There's studies, and I don't even know if this is appropriate to ask, but there's studies that young people are just like straight up less interested in hooking up with each other than prior generations. That like prior generations, it used to go out and like figure out who they were going to hook up with and then get out there and be fooling around in cars and parks and when people's parents went away, let's have a party, somebody's hooking up. There's reports that young people just aren't as interested in that. From your estimation, being a young person, is that true, or is that a really weird thing that people are out there writing about?
I never knew there were studies on that. I don't know who's studying that, but let me think. Most of my friends I know they're virgins. They're not out there, just going around hooking up with anybody they see. But I don't think hookup culture like died completely with us, but it's definitely a lot less prevalent with us. I think people are more focused on, actually building relationships with people, like not being there just for the sex or anything like that.
Man, okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. Let me check the time. We got 11 minutes left. What else do I want to ask a young person right now? I love, first of all, I love that you called in and that you're this relaxed, just speaking to your existence. Also, do you listen to Beautiful Anonymous?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I listened, and every time I listened when I work with my parents, and every time I'm listening, I'm like, oh my God, these people are, no offense, they're really old. And I'm like, maybe Chris needs to hear somebody like way younger. I feel like that'd be interesting.
Yes, you represent the youth movement. We got all these old fogies calling in. I'm glad to finally have the youth movement pop it off here. This is the beginning of a new era. No callers over the age of 21 from this point moving forward in the entire history of the show. The oldest people I will talk to, 21 years old, and I will not back down on that. No, wait, you just mentioned something, though, because you mentioned at the beginning of the call that you work with your parents, and you just brought it up again, but then you also said you got no money. They're not paying, your parents aren't paying you for working with them?
I worked with them last summer too, and they did pay me then, so I was saving up money from there. But this summer they got me the car, so that kind of like
that's fair. That's fair.
Kind of pays it off. I'm not complaining either. It's a car. I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah.
Can I ask what type of stuff you do with them?
We do night cleaning at a theater.
Nice.
So I'm basically nocturnal this whole summer. I've just been, I go to work at like 12 a.m. and then get home at like 5 a.m. and then go to sleep and then like wake up at like 1 p.m. or something.
Movie theater or plays, musicals, stuff like that?
Movie theater, yeah.
And it's interesting, too, to hear you say you want to be a teacher, and everybody's out here saying you have to be a doctor and an engineer. You also mentioned your parents grew up in Mexico, and now they're cleaner. It must be super sobering for you, because you have that perspective of, I mean, your family's working class. Your parents immigrated for a better life. And now your whole generation is going doctor, engineer, or else you don't even know if you can pay your goddamn rent. That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks. As hearing that makes it, that sucks even more than how much it already sucked to hear a 16-year-old say that most of your peer group is like, fuck jobs that don't make you enough because rent's too high.
Yeah, and this is a whole nother issue that I won't go too deep into, but I guess for my generation, there's a lot of, what is it? A lot of first generation immigrants that like, or parents of first generation immigrants that like carry the weight of their parents' like expectation to be like, something great, something that makes a lot of money. And they carry that, and they do that, they'll become like a doctor or engineer, but they don't really like listen to what they want to be, So I guess a lot of that comes from, a lot of pressure from older generations and their parents that are like, you should be doing something more helpful for the economy, I guess, or a higher demand.
Right. And, my grandparents immigrated. And I do remember there was, there was an unstated, like, I remember when I was becoming an artist, it was 2 generations away. And I did feel, I even then still felt some pressure of like, okay, man, like, I guess you can go do it if you want, but I knew I better work damn hard at this because I came from a family where I watched people work really, really hard. Like it was not
My perspective was never, I'm going to go be an artist and sleep all day and stay up all night. And my perspective was like, I better work as hard as my grandfather worked because he sacrificed everything. And I knew him and I was aware that he sacrificed everything. And that was 2 generations away. You're 1 generation away feeling those expectations. That's pressure.
Yeah, it is. And when I told my mom about I wanted to be a teacher, she obviously didn't like, crush my dreams or anything. She didn't say like, no, don't do that. But she was like, maybe you should like reconsider, how to get paid. Like, I want you to earn a lot of money. I want you to be stable. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, like I want to do my own thing. And I guess I'm interested in a lot of social work too. Like there was this recent episode of your podcast. I forgot. There's this lady who did a specific type of social work, and I was listening to that. I was really interested about like all the stuff she did, all the ways she helped different people. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, I don't know, like if I did that, would I still be able to like live comfortably, live my dreams? Like, that's what I think about a lot.
I can't help but notice you have some inclinations towards jobs that are about helping others, teachers, social work. You also seem like a pretty laid back, chill 16-year-old guy. What do you think sparks it in you? This idea of like, if money wasn't an issue and I didn't feel that pressure, I'd be out there helping people. That's a really great quality in you. Where do you think it comes from?
I don't know. Maybe it's just part of my personality or what I've seen. I feel like online, at least, I see a lot of people suffer, not like physically, but like mentally. Like they need a lot of help, and there's a lot of stigma and discrimination against those people. I feel like if I was out there, if I could, with not considering the money, if I could go out there and help them and like, see what I can do for them and see how I can contribute to helping these people, and then I would do it. Like, why not? And why doesn't everybody think like that?
And the way you were talking before, sounds like there's conversations amongst your peers of gotta go get that money. Which does that mean that there's also other people out there going, what I'd really like to do is this other type of thing that might be something like helping people or making art. Like, is that just you and the people you roll with, or would you say that that's something that's kind of across the board right now?
No, yeah, I've heard it a lot, specifically online. They'll be like me when my heart tells me to get like an art degree or something, but I know it won't make me any money. I know I won't be able to live off that, so I go to a high demand job, something like engineering or biomedicine or something like that. So I see it a lot, at least on the internet, where people are like, I want to do this, but I have to do that.
That sucks. That sucks. Now, here's the sense I get, is that if you and I met in real life, probably not sitting down and talking for an hour. I'm like a weird old guy to you, and you're like you seem like kind of a laid back, maybe quiet kid. Like there's no other context outside of this where me, a 44-year-old man from New Jersey, and you, a 16-year-old kid from somewhere in the world, sit down and hash it out like this. But I feel really lucky that I've been able to do this, because you're also a generation where everybody talks about you. And I'm sure you see that on the news. Everybody's talking about young people, but you don't necessarily hear, they're not talking to you. They're talking about you a lot.
Yeah. And that's why I really love. I mean, I heard about this podcast from a different podcast, and I checked it out, and I really loved it. I loved what you do, get people's stories out there. And I'm glad I've been one of the first younger people on here to answer any questions or talk about what I think.
I love it. Are there any particular episode, and I'm putting you on the spot, so you might be like, I can't recall off this quick. Are there any particular episodes of Beautiful Anonymous where you were like, man, these people sound old talking like this?
I remember I was really shocked at this one. I can't remember the episode. It was this one lady. She said she had been a therapist or psychiatrist or something like that for like, I don't even know. She said a long time. I think she said like 50 years or like 40 years. And I was shocked. Like that's like what, 4 times my entire life, and you've been working for that long? It's really weird. But it was really interesting to hear like, how she worked with clients and like what she was doing with her life and how she felt about, doing social work and all that.
Now, we only have a minute left. And you're very even-keeled. But you've brought up some stuff that sounds stressful. And you've brought up some stuff that sounds like kids are really thinking hard. I asked you a very broad question to start, which was, how are you feeling about being 16? In the closing, your gut instinct. Are you gonna be all right? Or moving forward, do you feel like some of the stuff you've laid out is insurmountable? Or are you like, no, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out?
I think I'll be fine. Yeah. I'm really optimistic about the future. And as bleak as it may seem, right now, I think it will be fine.
With just a few seconds left, I remember being in middle school during the Clinton election. I remember every election when I was in school, they made a real big deal out of it. Are they making a big deal out of the Biden-Trump one for you? And when 16-year-olds watch a Biden-Trump debate, what goes through your head when you see a Joe Biden versus Donald Trump debate?
It was like, to be honest, it was like watching like 2 toddlers like bicker and fight about everything. It was so weird to watch. Considering he's like 82, no. It was a hard watch.
I was depressed for 3 days afterwards. This is goodbye to the people on the free feed. Are you down to hang out and let me ask you some random questions from our list?
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks to everybody on the free feed. Caller, sincerely, thank you so much. So revealing. So able to speak to where you're at, your sense of where other people your age are at. So laid back on a show that you've been listening to with a bunch of old people on it. What a call. What a caller. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you to our producer, the high priestess of Beautiful Anonymous, Andrea Quinn. Our theme song is by Shellshag. Thanks to my friend Shellshag for being such a big part of the show. Go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard if you want to know more about me, especially the tour dates when I'm getting out there on the road. If you want to leave a voicemail pitching your story, that number is 973-306-4676. The Instagram is Beautiful Anonymous Pod. The Facebook group is Beautiful Anonymous, the community. Rate, review, subscribe, do those things. It helps us so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. Next question, I'm nervous to ask, have you ever had to punch someone?
No, I don't think so.
That's a good answer. I'm happy to.
Yeah, I mean, who I wanted to, but no, not really.
I'm glad to hear.
I used to do karate classes in like 5th grade, 6th grade.
Do you feel like those gave you a level of confidence that still retains today, or do you look back and giggle about your karate class experience?
No, it was it's definitely silly. I can't lie, but it was still really fun. I met some people over there. It was really cool. I don't hate it, but I don't think it was like, oh, I can go out there and beat somebody's ass right now. It was just like, oh, it's cool. I like going to these.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.